All right. We're going to start here, but as I'm making my introductions, I wanted to let you know that there's a list going around the room for emails and your names if you're interested in gaming at Penn State, game design, game development, things like that. So just write your information on that list. All right. Thanks for joining us today. And first, I want to thank the Educational Gaming Commons and the John M. Anderson Visiting Artist Lecture Series for making this possible. So thanks a lot, guys. With us today, we have Mark Franz and Travis George from Riot Games. Riot Games is an independent Los Angeles-based game developer and publisher. The studio was established in 2006 to develop innovative online next-generation titles for PCs and consoles. These are two key members of that development team. Mark Franz joins us with over 12 years of experience in the games industry. He's worked on a ton of games, companies like Perpetual Entertainment, where he served as a director of development for Star Trek Online. He's held roles at Electronic Arts and Origin Systems, where he worked on Ultima Online, Earth and Beyond, and at Pogo.com. Travis George brings over 5 years of professional experience. 8? Oh, geez, this is out of date. This is, and he deals with time travel quite a bit, so keeping up to date with his, So Travis has worked at Activision, most notably on an X-Men game where he developed Nightcrawler's powers of gameplay from start to finish, which maybe loosely deals with his ability to travel through time, maybe. And let's see. Then he wandered the great gaming abyss before landing at Perpetual Entertainment, where he turned his love of playing online video games into a love of working on them. And he's crossed over to production now, and he now serves as the Riot Games gameplay producer, where he manages the design team. So please give them a warm welcome.
Again, thank you very much. My name is Mark Franz. As Matt pointed out, I'm the development director at Riot Games, and I'm joined here with Travis George, who is a producer on League of Legends. We wanted to first off thank Penn State for having us here. We are super excited about being here. This is very much an honor to be here. And a special thanks to Matt Kenyon and Bill Bixel. I was going to butcher your name. I'm sorry. Brett Bixler. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the having us here. We wanted to talk to you today about basically creative problem solving in the video game industry and how that's a key skill set you need to actually work in the video game industry. First, we want to talk about how we got into the video game industry and what we do. So I'll start off with my journey into video games. So first, I want to ask if anyone here has had a really bad hangover.
Number one party school.
Yes. So I had a really bad hangover in 1993 when I graduated with a degree in theater, and which, by the way, I now recognize is an amazing and awesome degree. It's informed so much of what I do right now. For the time, I knew with getting the degree, I didn't want to act, and I really didn't want to playwright. So what did I just do? And literally on the day I was sitting in my cap in the chair, going, "What did I just do?" So I sat there trying to figure out, what do I actually do? Do I join like the CIA or something? They probably need people that can act in the CIA or something. And a friend of mine who actually had a degree in theater said, "Hey, I've joined this cool company, Origin Systems, and I'm making video games, and they really enjoy people that have a creative background coming in and doing that." So I packed up everything I owned into a very small box and moved to Austin, Texas, and started working on video games there. So from there, I've worked on a lot of games at Origin Systems, and I've held a lot of different titles and roles. So I started out in QA, which is a very old school way of getting into production. You start in QA, and through the Lord of Flies experience, you go one way or the other. But I managed to go from QA to QA lead to translations liaison to ultimately a designer and then design manager on Ultima Online. From there, I moved into basically project management for overall operational infrastructure. Basically, how do you run, manage, and operate online games for Electronic Arts? So I moved out to Redwood City, a corporate, and I worked on all sorts of titles. A few of them are up here. For instance, Majestic Sims Online. I also worked on Motor City Online, Pogo, a lot of really cool stuff. That eventually led to me being a development director at another company, Perpetual, which kind of burned into ashes, and then led me to Riot Games, where I'm the development director for League of Legends. And so, what is a development director? So basically, I'm responsible for all long and short-term planning. I have QA, localization, I have release management. So basically, all the processes we use to actually develop a game. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept of, has anyone heard of Agile Scrum? Agile Scrum? So basically, I'm a Scrum Master of Scrum Masters, and then I have a group of Scrum Masters below us. And that is the way that we execute in a collaborative fashion as a team in quick iterations. We'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But one way of looking at what I do is the how. And then my counterpart, Travis, is the what. So I'll hand this over to you.
Cool. So, hey, I'm Travis. I'm the what. And so, let's see. So, a little bit of history about me. I don't have as many cool box images as Mark. So, I started out in 2002. I actually grew up in the middle of Kansas, surprisingly enough. And I said, you know what? I really like playing video games, and maybe there's somebody that's got to make them. They don't just come from unicorn giggles and black magic. So, pretty much at the time, the only place you could go to learn how to make video games, other than just do the Lord of the Flies QA way, was I went to Wholesale down in Florida, and I have a degree in game development and design, which really just means they taught me how to write C++. So they taught me how to write C++, and I immediately decided about halfway through the program that I hated writing C++, and instead I wanted to be a designer. So I was like, well, what do I need to do to be a designer? So I worked through the program. I broke a lot of rules. Actually, I technically, they had to amend a rule because I was not supposed to graduate because I didn't write any code for my final project. But I did the design for it, which they had never had a designer on a project. So that actually led to me being able to do what not many people have done, which is get a design job straight out of school. So I actually got hired by Activision, by a studio up in the Bay Area in California, and I worked on X-Men games there for many years. I did the movie game that came out that wasn't very good. My part was good, but Nightcrawler part's fun. And I consulted on the X-Men Legends series, if you guys are familiar with that, the successful X-Men games. And then I worked on a couple other products there. And then I went to Perpetual Entertainment. So I took a kind of a programming degree, turned it into a design for a console game company, and then said, you know what, I'm going to go work on online games, as I really like playing WoW and all these other things. So I worked at Perpetual Entertainment with Mark, surprisingly, actually on a different project. But as you guys know, they weren't that perpetual because they're not around anymore. So, and that led to Riot Games, where I started out as the design manager, as you heard in my bio, but now I'm just a producer. And so, what does that mean? So, producer. Well, I keep trying to click the screen. So everybody always asks me, what do you do again? People who I work with ask me this, so this is good. Well, so it always means something different, right? Like at some companies, it's an organized designer, schedule manager, right? Like Franz is very much in tune with the schedule. One of my engineers who is awesome and I love him to death swears that my sole responsibility is to get him pizza, which, by the way, I have never gotten him pizza. So I farmed that out to associate producers. So, and actually, our community, if you guys are familiar with the League of Legends community, they actually have another idea. They have a good idea of what we do. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a Riot Games board meeting, which is release another Teemo skin and make Jax more OP, right? Brilliant! So that's kind of the impression that I think so they're like, what do you do? Well, a little different. So what is it actually? So producer at Riot Games. So basically, I'm responsible at the high level. I'm responsible for the execution of our goals. So what are our goals, right? Like make a bunch of money, make a really fun game, make a live service that doesn't crash, right? Like those are all goals that we have, and so I'm responsible for executing those. And so I create teams, I get groups of people together, cross-disciplinary teams like programmers, designers, artists, whatever we need to execute against those goals, and I run them. This is my boss. This is what my boss, the president of the company, says. I'm the single ringable neck, right? So he's not going to go yell at an engineer. If he yelled, he doesn't yell. He's not going to go talk to an engineer about why the live service crashed. He's going to come ask me if that's my responsibility, right? Because ultimately, I'm responsible for the entire team's execution. So, and then that just really means prioritize objectives and resources, right? So we have to constantly weigh, like, is making the game stable more important, or is making the game more fun important? Well, obviously they're both super important, and sometimes we have to decide what we want to do in the very short term to whichever goal is more important that we set. So to sum it up, it's be responsible for making sure we're executing our goals and making the team monsters, right? So a good producer, the team gets the credit. A good producer also, if we fail at something, like they should be the ones coming to me, right? So it's my job. So Mark is actually going to talk a little bit about League of Legends.
So who's played League of Legends? So we talk about Riot Games for a minute. So as Matt introduced, we're a very small company. We're about 50 people. When we started, there were about 20 people. So we've got about 50 people, and we're in Los Angeles. We were funded a few years ago with a basic idea of going after the MOBA game market with a very interesting business model. We are the spiritual successor to Dota, and anyone knows what Dota is. And we have about 1.5 million players worldwide, and that's just really it's primarily North America and Europe. We're one of the top 5 online PC games, number 3 on GameSpot, number 5 on Xfire. We're really excited about this. And right now we're focusing on some new features that we cannot talk about, but they will be coming out this year, and they're very exciting. We're actually working on them right now. And we're also making a major push to go into Asia. Specifically, we're targeting China right now. And we're working with a wonderful partner there, Tencent, to do that. I don't know if anyone knows what Tencent is. They're I think
They're the world's largest internet.
Yes, they're ginormous. So we're really excited about that. Trailer. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a quick trailer of League of Legends so you all kind of know what the game is. So, balls right here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So, one thing is we're really excited. We've had great editorial and readership awards. This is just a smattering of awards we've won over the year. A lot of Game of the Year, Editor's Choice, Reader's Choice awards. We're really excited about this. So, what we want to talk today is about, again, creative problem solving and why that's important to the video game industry. So, let's talk about what really matters in video game production.
Cool. So I've actually spent a good portion of my time doing design. I was a professional designer for about 5-6 years, and now I've been a producer. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about is kind of the dynamic between design and production, and just how that applies to actually everybody, whether you're a designer or producer or not. So let's talk about what matters in production, right? So awesome ideas are awesome, right? So that actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because who's going to come up and say like, hey, you know what? I have this great idea for something for X, Y, or Z, right? And like generally, people are going to acknowledge if it is awesome that yeah, that is great. So why don't we want to do this, right? Like blue skying is easy to do and fun, right? Like it's really fun to sit around and say like, wouldn't it be cool if we had dinosaurs with laser beams in our game, right? Like, well, actually, yes, it would. It actually would be really awesome because this is awesome, right? Dinosaurs with laser beams is awesome and it's great, right? And like, but why don't we have? Why doesn't every game have dinosaurs with laser beams in it, right? Maybe you guys are asking yourself that now, but so think about instead of like what's just awesome, because like nobody's going to disagree that that's not right. But ask yourself, what problem are you really trying to solve, right? Like not just like blue sky and something out of thin air, right? Like think of the big picture, right? Like think about the customer, right? And who's the customer, right? The customer in some cases is the end user. So in our case, like you guys, right? Like you guys play our game, right? Like you guys are what we need to be thinking about. If you're an engineer, maybe you're making a tool, and maybe the customer is a designer that's going to use it, right? Like instead of just always saying like, well, wouldn't it be awesome if, or wouldn't it be cool if, right? Like think about the big picture, right? Like think about what problem are you really trying to solve, right? And I want to illustrate this with an actual wrong problem that I had to solve one time. So here's our good friend Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You guys are familiar with Wolverine? Woo, Wolverine. He's awesome. So I was working on an X-Men game that had several problems in development. And one of the key things is like you won't believe the problems that you have to solve on a regular basis, whether you're an engineer, an artist, a designer, or a producer, right? And so I'm going to walk you through this example here. So our good friend Wolverine here, we're working on the game. We're still a few months from ship, which in console speak is like you better be almost done, right? Because you have to print the discs, you have to get it certified by Microsoft and Sony, right? Like it's not like PC development where it's a little more Wild West cowboy, like, yeah, let's just push that out and see what happens, right? Like it really is, a few months from ship is, we better have this thing almost finished. So we're at the point where all of our animations for the entire game and Wolverine are complete, and we're really just tuning, balancing, and fixing, and actually trying to make the game fun, right? Like, which is the wrong problem again, but that's another story. So we're in this state, we're feeling pretty good, right? Like, and all of a sudden, Marvel, who owns the X-Men license and gets to tell us what to do, comes in and says, oh, hey, guess what? We were looking through all of your animations, even though we've seen them several times, and this isn't the first time we've seen them, etc. And we noticed that Wolverine, and our Wolverine, is actually left-handed, right? And your Wolverine is right-handed, right? And so he leads all of his attacks with his right hand, and that's wrong, because Wolverine is left-handed, right? And so we're just like, what? So I, as a designer, and my producer at the time, sat down and we're like, okay, great, so they're not going to let us ship the game unless we fix Wolverine being right-handed, right? And so what do? Well, we sit and we talk amongst ourselves and we say, well, we can reanimate every single Wolverine animation in the entire game, or we can build some crazy expensive tech to mirror the world, right? Like, literally, like mirror the world. So none of those sound awesome, right? And it's like, and P.S., we're just a few months from ship, right? So we don't have time to spend 20 days building some crazy technology or whatever to solve the wrong problem, right? Like, like we're trying to make sure the game runs for more than an hour, right? Like we're trying to make it fun, like we're trying to make money on the thing, and they're telling us that we have to fix Wolverine being right-handed, right? Like that's the wrong problem. I just want everybody to know. So, right, like that's kind of our reaction. So, I mean, genuinely, like, by the way, there's a running theme with Captain Picard. But so it's like literally, like, that's our reaction, right? So, all right. So what do we do, right? Well, it's rock hard place, wrong problem, et cetera, right? What we did is we got a bunch of people together and we said, hey guys, here's a problem. We really need this solved. Like, we don't want to do the dumb thing of reanimate every animation. We don't want to build crazy technology to mirror the whole game world. So an engineer at the time, who's actually just started with the project, like a pretty junior guy, is like, well, hey, this is back years ago when Maya's not as good as it is now. It's like, well, hey, we can actually go in and we can probably find a little hack, and I can write a little Mel script here to just reverse all the animations for us, or whatever. And we're like, oh, okay, interesting. Let's do that. Days instead of 20 days, right? And essentially, what we did was we got a bunch of people together, right? We used the collective wisdom of the group, right? And a junior engineer, while brainstorming with the rest of us, thought out a solution that basically made it 3 days worth of work, and we turned this terrible situation into like a big win for everybody, and we got to go back solving the right problems, right? So instead of me and a producer trying to solve a really complicated problem with our retarded ways, right, which like those were obvious, right? We got everybody together, and a junior guy who's been there like 3 months was like, hey, I think we can save 17 work days or whatever by doing this. And we're all like, yes. So that guy totally saved the day. Well, saved 17 of them, actually. And by the way, I just want to point out, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, he's right-handed. If you watch the X-Men movies, he uses his right hand. Just saying. So, all right. So, awesome ideas are awesome. What problem are you trying to solve, right? Solve the right ones. And then, so here's another thing. Solving problems within constraints, right? Like, let's use the dinosaurs and laser beams example again, right? Like, dinosaurs and laser beams, awesome, right? Like, not as awesome when I come back and say, you know what, it's really like 6 days to build the laser shader, right? And like all the artists need to build dinosaur models when they're trying to build models for the real game, right? So that's going to be another 10 days with animation, rigging, art director approval, et cetera, et cetera. So like, it starts to sound a little less awesome, right? And so one of the biggest challenges that you will face, and especially people who are new to the industry, is how to solve problems within constraints, right? Because you're going to come to me and be like, dinosaurs with laser beams, awesome. And I'll be like, yes, but no, right? Like, we're not going to do that because I'm not going to take 30 days out of the time or whatever to make something that we may not really need to make, right? And so instead of looking at this as a barrier, like, use this as an opportunity to create your best work and inspire your team, right? Like, there's really there's countless examples of creative problem solving. Like, you guys who are familiar with League of Legends, like, we basically have a set of building blocks in our game that we use, and the designers go in and assemble these blocks in different ways to make all the spells for our champions. I don't know if you guys have played, like, but there's some, there's not really a ton of champions that feel alike, even though they're using this kind of kit to kind of assemble things in a different order. They're working within constraints every day, and they're making really awesome stuff. That's not to say we don't help them out once in a while, but if the design team came and we're like, hey designers, what do you want? And they're like, we want 100 things. And we're like, oh, okay, we'll see you next year, right? Like, so this is a really important skill. And I actually want to demonstrate this with something that's a little, so, this is Matsuo Bosho. Well, that's actually not, that's a statue of him. But that's because he lived in the late 1600s, in the Edo period in Japan. And he is a writer. He developed, or he did not develop. He's recognized today as one of the greatest haiku writers ever to live, right? And so everybody knows what a haiku is, right? It's an extremely constrained form of essentially poem, right? 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. The Japanese version is a little different. It's not necessarily syllables, but you get the idea. And so a couple examples of his work, right? Basically, Matsuo Bosho is recognized today, 400 years after he died, as being able to express more in 17 syllables than countless other authors and writers that have come after him that nobody knows who they are, right? And they had infinite space to work with, right? Having bandwidth and no constraints doesn't always make a better product, right? And so, like, this is something that actually Mark and I talk about together, is like working within constraints, and haiku is a great example of that. Like, it's not gaming related at all, but it's important to remember that when you're working on whatever projects you are. There's always going to be constraints. And so solving problems, so awesome ideas are awesome. What problem are you trying to solve? Solve those problems within constraints, right? Use that as an opportunity. So essentially, in the end, change the wouldn't it be cool if, right? Which is, wouldn't it be cool if we had dinosaurs with laser beams and it took 17 days and I had no constraints and then I'm not solving the right problems, and turn that into what's the most important thing that I can be doing, right? Like, is building dinosaurs with laser beams the most important thing I can do, right? Like, well, probably not, right? So ask yourself that question, and you're years ahead of anybody else who comes in, right? So that's kind of what matters for production. In the end, my job is to kind of enforce these or whatever, and so people who work within that system are again, years ahead. So shift gears a little bit. What matters in design, right? So game store designers, right? So this is a term I use. Walk into GameStop or EB, right? You know, whatever. I don't think they call it EB anymore. Walk into a game store and ask a random person if they have any good ideas for a game, right? Like, everybody here probably has good ideas for a game. I probably have good ideas for a game. Franz may even have good ideas for a game, right? Like, I don't know. The point is that they will passionately tell you about their great idea for a game, right? Well, it's like, okay, great. So is that what makes a good designer? Is it good ideas? Well, it's like everybody has good ideas, right? Like, we all have good ideas. But I would argue that not everybody that's ever been in a game store that has a good idea about a game is going to be a great game designer someday, right? So what is it really? So I'm going to use an example here and tell a story. I'm going to tell you about two games. I want you guys to think about which one you want to make, right? So here on one side, we've got the surefire hit, right? We're going to take the biggest film franchise of the last 30 years, right? Like, the biggest film franchise, like, not like Titanic, right? Not Shrek, right? Like, the biggest one. You can't go bigger than this one, right? 30 years of mass market awareness, right? Like, we've got 30 years of your mom and your dad and people who don't play video games know what this is, right? You've got a development team that has genre experience building the current market leader. So it's an MMO, right? And you've got a team that's building the game with the biggest film franchise, 30 years of mass market awareness, and an all-star development team. And they built the game that's the #1 game in the genre, right? Like, how can we go wrong, right? Like, that's a great idea. We should build that game, right? Or, give you the option here, you can build a relatively unknown IP, right? So we're going to take a game. It's definitely not a film franchise. It's definitely not the biggest film franchise. It's extremely segmented to gamer awareness only, right? And it's not even one of the most popular games aware, right? But, like, your mom doesn't know about it. Your dad doesn't know about it, right? Like, this lucrative mass market that everybody always talks about doesn't know what this franchise is. You've got a team that's known for kind of taking their sweet time, right? Like, you know, they usually deliver, but it's unpredictable, right? Like, we're going to spend a lot of money making this game, a lot of money. And they've never built an MMO before, right? So it's like, which one do I want? Well, the one on the left certainly seems like a better idea than the one on the right, right? So, you know, of course, you might guess, Star Wars Galaxies and World of Warcraft, right? So, yeah, it's kind of, there we go, right? Like, so, Star Wars Galaxies, World of Warcraft, right? Like, one seems like a really great idea. One seems like, maybe, right? But, of course, we all know the end results, right? Which is 400,000 estimated peak subscribers for Star Wars Galaxies, right? Which is just good, right? Like, that's not a small number, right? But it's pretty small when you compare it to 11 million peak subscribers for World of Warcraft, right? Like, World of Warcraft basically did what Star Wars Galaxies didn't do, which is it broadened the entire genre of mass market, of MMOs, right? Like, this is the first MMO that's ever been mass market. Like, your mom and dad probably know what this is now, right? Like, they wouldn't have known what the Warcraft IP was 6 years ago, though, right? And so, well, what does this all mean, right? So, good designers and teams execute on the right things, right? It's the execution path versus the idea path, right? Everybody has good ideas, right? Like, Star Wars Galaxy is a great idea, right? Like, but when they didn't execute on the same things that the World of Warcraft team executed on, right? World of Warcraft executed on being fun, right? Like, that sounds shocking, I know, but it's fun to play, right? They executed on being able to make it easy for people to get into the game, right? Like, they grew that market by executing on making it really easy for people who've never played such a complicated game to play it, right? Like, go play Star Wars Galaxies. You know, they had to redo their whole experience, their whole first experience several times because it was so hard to get into. Like, nobody that hadn't played an MMO before could play Star Wars Galaxies, right? Like, there's a huge learning curve, whereas WoW just made it super easy to get into, right? They also executed on the right things, right? Like, Star Wars Galaxies had a ton of cool stuff in it, right? Like, it was a very confident game, but like, when you spend more time developing your dancing and your trading and your bartering system than you do like killing stuff, which is what you do 90% of the game, which is what WoW did, right? Like, you're not solving the right problem again, right? So, again, the execution path versus the idea path, right? And you see, think about all the great studios that come to mind, right? Like Blizzard, PodCap, right? Valve, BioWare, Riot Games. You know, like, what's really important, right, is not to say that those studios don't innovate, but those studios are focused more on executing the things that they want to execute in their product versus just coming up with the dinosaurs with laser beam ideas, right? Like, and so that's super, super important, right? Like, good designers and teams execute on the right things. So, how does this, again, what matters to the team? Like, you're like, well, I'm an artist or I'm an engineer, right? Like, artists and engineers need to be intrinsically inside this process, right? Like, designers writing design docs and throwing it over the wall to engineers, like, it's failed more times than I can count. I've seen it, right? Working together as a cross-discipline team is super important. And so, creative problem solving, right? Like, solving within constraints, identifying the right thing, right? Like, cross-discipline collaboration, right? Like, engineers and artists are going to implement what designers want, right? So why wouldn't everybody talk about it, right? Like, why wouldn't we all say, like, hey, that sounds really awesome, or hey, maybe that could be better this way, right? Like, so much win comes from that, right? Like, on my teams, like, I'm smart enough to realize that I'm retarded, right? Like, like, just to be honest, right? Like, there's a group of 7 people that are engineers, designers, artists, or whatever. Like, my job isn't to decide what they should do for them. My job is to take all their ideas, take my ideas, and then make the decision about the best one that we want to execute on, right? Like, you know, my job is to not have all the best ideas. My job is to make sure that the best ideas happen, right? And so working together with other people is so super important. Working within constraints, we talked about that. You know, the haiku example is a great outside games reference. Then again, think about dinosaurs with laser beams, right? It's not so awesome when you say, like, well, you know, it's going to take 15 days to build dinosaurs with laser beams. What else could we do in that amount of time, right? And quality of execution, right? Like, make sure that what you're doing, you focus on it and make it as good as you can, right? Like, because in the end, everybody's got great ideas. It matters about how you translate those ideas into the finished product, right? So, Mark Franz is going to talk a little bit about, he's going to give you the secret handshake on some of this stuff here, so
yes,
turn it back over to him.
Okay, so this is secret sauce on how to get into the video game industry. So things that we look for, and a lot of other companies are looking for in the video game industry, when you're going through it, you're going through a basic interview process with pre-screening, that kind of thing. First off, whatever skill set you're going into, we want to make sure you have those skills in some fashion. But from there, what we're really looking for are workability and teamwork and collaboration. I can't emphasize this enough. We've refused more brilliant jerks than you can possibly imagine. And we've, people that can't actually work well with a team, we can't use. The team dynamic creates quality. So what we look for are things around how well does the person work with a team, how well do they collaborate. They have to have a clear passion for games, and just want to mention, internship is an excellent way to get into the game industry. You learn a lot about that game studio. Almost no game studios work the same. You learn a lot about the actual process, and you can apply that at your next job. So I want to talk specifically for each discipline. Who here is in engineering? So some things that you want to take into account. Have a demo game. Absolutely. If you want to work in the video game industry and you don't have something you can represent and say, hey, I've worked on this, this could be a solo project or a team project. Doesn't matter. We just want to see something that you worked on. And we want to talk to you about that thing. We're interested in math, CS, engineering degrees. It's always interesting to us to hear that someone has some sort of leadership role on a project they worked on. Again, that tells us that they can work well with a team. Communication skills. Engineers are not necessarily known for having peak communication skills. But when we're talking about, so if an engineer is going to implement the solution from a designer, let's say, the bad way to do that is for the designer to write a design doc, hand it to the engineer, implements, comes back, and we go, wow, this is crap.